So welcome to week 3. This week, we are talking about a few different theories, which is behavioral theories, cognitive, and solution focused. I want to kind of share my slides and go over some of our assignments so you have a better understanding of what is expected. Sorry for all the background noise. I've got my dog babysitting a brand new puppy, so there might be some animals. So first, there are 3 major approaches. We see this in a lot of our practices, and a lot of them are kind of pushed to be used because they are evidence-based. So the behavioral analysis or behavioral therapy type approach focuses on behavioral change and consequences of our behavior. So pretty simple, right? You would think. Then the cognitive theory is where we're using our brain and our thoughts to then change our environment. And of course, like I said, here, stimulus response model focus on environmental factors that elicit and maintain a behavioral change. So it's like, how do we think about things? How do we process things? And then how do we use those thoughts to then change our behaviors? And then, of course, we have solution focus, which is a social learning and problem solving type of theory and focus. And so we'll go into that a little bit more. See if I can get my slides to change. There we go. So behavioral theory was created by John Watson. He is a behavioral theorist, and that was from 1878 to 1958. He is basically the father of behaviorism. And we have seen these in regards to some of the other, like Pavlov's bells and how we can change behaviors based on rewards or consequences. You see a lot of these theories used in schools, which it may or may not work depending on what you are doing. Typically, positive behavioral change or positive rewards is more effective when you do behavioral theories. And with these, we're looking at how do we change the behavior even if the environment doesn't change, which can be a hard thing, especially if you're working with teens, adolescents, children, really young kids. Behavioral change can be accomplished through small objectives and rewards. So we're doing conditioning of those. As on here, it's kind of what I went over. Teachers will use these as rewards or punishment. Corporate training, so a lot of military training programs that we see consistent behaviors taught to then have a certain outcome. You can even think of like when you work out, that we are working out and we're doing consistent behaviors to then see a change. When we do sleep habits, learning how to set our routines and use very specific things and certain behaviors to change our sleep routine, and our sleep habits also can be a behaviorism. Then, of course, therapies and behavioral theory is habits. So with this one, it's kind of like when we look at addictions, we want to change a habit. And so reducing certain behaviors, distracting ourselves, delaying other behaviors to then change the habits that we have. So awareness, company response training, which is, let's say I drink 5 drinks a night, then I'm going to go down to 4, and that 5th one, it's not that I'm going to drink a 5th drink, I'm going to have an alternative drink. So we're then changing the habit, but still kind of keeping the behavior to then get into reducing slowly for the behavioral change. It does take a lot of motivation, and you may have to incorporate the motivational interviewing to really help you guide the patient and what they want and what they want to achieve based off their own goals. And then, of course, relaxation training. So teaching breathing, teaching new habits about relaxing, new healthy behaviors to then have a habit changing behavior. On here, I put works for tics, nail biting, skin picking, hair pulling, chain smoking, or any other strong urges of feelings, which can be any type of addiction. So finding different alternative behaviors to then change the outcomes. Then we have the cognitive behavioral. So it integrates with all of these different ones. You have cognitive behavioral, dialectic, mindfulness, experimental, and emotion focused. These can all be integrated into the behavioral change theories. In cognitive theories, we're looking at the concepts of the thoughts. Why are we having these thoughts? What emotions are they causing? What are the situations and the behaviors due to the thoughts? So it's teaching and learning the actual cognitive theories, which is cognitive behavioral therapy. And with cognitive behavioral therapy, we know that the thoughts, the emotions, and the behaviors are all interconnected. It's not a one-way circle like you see sometimes. It goes both in all directions. It can go across. I may have a thought first. I may have an emotion first. An event or situation or action may have happened to me first, and then it triggers the other ones pretty much simultaneously. With cognitive theories, I also like to add in kind of body recognition and awareness, so we know how do I feel, and am I recognizing any certain sensations which are leading to those thoughts, emotions, or behavioral actions. Here are some behavioral interventions I've listed for you to kind of look at, especially when doing your assignment. Solution focus. So solution focus is problem solving. It is figure out what's wrong. How do we fix it? What are the objectives we need to accomplish these goals? The reason they are brief therapy is because we are attempting to do short-term goals in a faster manner. They're used in crisis prevention. We see them in basic social work. We're trying to find housing, maybe money, getting somebody to be motivated, really looking at like, well, what are you looking for? What are your goals? How do you want to achieve that? And then bringing them back to small steps that can be done within a month, 2 months. So there's a lot of these. I throw out there the miracle question and the exception question, because the miracle question is a good thing to really help you see what are the things that people enjoy and how might they start looking at ways to achieve that absolute miracle goal of where would I be if every single thing in my world was pretty much perfect, right? When the problems are removed, how would I address those issues? Looking at what are my issues and why do they bother me so much? Now with the miracle question, I also like to think of, like if they think about, oh, I'd love to be on a beach, relaxing, enjoying a book. So then it's finding those things. Well, how can we do some of those small little things each day, a couple times a year to integrate the things that they really, really want in life, those passions. And then of course, identifying the exceptions to the client's problems. You know, tell me a time when you felt the happiest. But then also when you do that, those questions, you have to look at happiness is also temporary because we want to be content, but we don't want, it's not that we don't want to be happy, it's we want to be happy, but we can't be happy all the time. So we have to find that happy middle ground of what makes me feel good, that I don't get that dopamine rush that I'm always seeking for something more. So we have to be careful with those type of questions. Of course, what was it about the day that made that day better? And can you think of times when the problem was not present in your life? So that'll help you gauge maybe what's going on, what things made them feel good, strengths, hobbies, things like that. So it's really good to ask these questions to help gauge where they are and how they can use those things in their everyday life to be happy and to make change. So in your assignments, especially this week's assignment, there's treatment intervention. You have to do a treatment intervention for all three of these: behavioral, cognitive, and solution focused. I really want you to focus on SMART goals and look at each one of these and say, how can I write a good treatment intervention for a change in behavior? What am I going to have them do? How often are they going to do it? And is it realistic? So if I want a behavioral change, let's say I need to go when I get frustrated at work and I'm having a bad day and people are bothering me, your intervention would be, I will take a 5-minute break at least once a day to help reduce stress. That's it. All right, pretty simple. Cognitive one. Maybe we want to do some breathing, or we can use a journal, the CBT journal, to write down, well, what happened? What emotions did I have? What were some of the thoughts? Were the thoughts negative or unfactual? How can I change those thoughts to change the behavior later? So cognitive restructuring. And then solution focused, you can do an intervention with goals, how often they're going to do something. It could be finding a job. How are they going to find a job? How many jobs are they going to apply for within what period of time? A week, a month? So make sure you add the numbers in there so we know that the goal is being achieved and how it's going to be achieved. And then, of course, here's some examples. And then, of course, you can look at the motivational interviewing, which I kind of touched on, and how do we do that? And then, of course, here's all the different ways of behavioral change in the processes in regards to motivational interviewing. Now, it does say relapse, but this one is also nice because it talks about learning, because the stages of change doesn't just apply to addictions. It can be that way with every single thing in us not wanting to change and where we are in that process of change. Here's a little table for you to look at on summarizing using reflections. How do we ask questions to just kind of save, because you may need it later when you need to do your group projects. And then I give some more examples for you in this PowerPoint slide. So make sure you look at it and really get an idea of how do we ask questions? How do we promote change? And then, of course, the change plan. So make sure you look at these and really acknowledge, how do I start doing this? Because this will be part of your project in the next coming weeks with your groups. If you guys have any questions, please make sure to join me Thursday night at 4 o'clock and ask any questions at that time, and I will help you then. Have a good night.